Alright guys, so in this project we're going to do something a little different. We're going to build a portfolio component, and we're going to use this free template from Start Bootstrap. It's basically a starter template for a portfolio. You can see it's got a big showcase area, but what we're really going to focus on is the portfolio items. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to integrate Node with this template, and we're going to store these projects in a MySQL database, which is a little different than what we've been doing. We're actually going to use a relational database. We've been using MongoDB, Cassandra, NoSQL databases, which is usually what Node is associated with. But a lot of people don't know that it works really well with relational databases as well. Alright, so basically we'll have these portfolio items. When we click an image, it's going to open up a pop-up, kind of like a light box, I guess, and it'll have the title, the image, the description, the client, the date, and the service, and we can close that. Alright, that's really all we're going to be focusing on is the portfolio items, and we're also going to build kind of a back end. It's going to be a different design, just a very simple Bootstrap template, and we'll be able to add projects, we'll be able to edit and delete projects as well. Alright, so that's what we'll be doing. So first thing, let's go ahead and download this template. Alright, and we're going to go, before anything actually, we need to get MySQL installed. And if you're using Windows, I don't know if I have it. Do I have it? No, we don't have. XAMPP or XAMPP is a really nice suite of programs. It includes MySQL, PHP. So let's go ahead and get that. Okay, so I think it's ApacheFriends.org. Alright, so they have this is available for all different platforms. We're going to get the Windows. Alright, and that's kind of a big file, so we're going to just that'll probably take a few minutes. Alright, so we'll install that, and what we're going to do to create our MySQL database is we're going to use phpMyAdmin, which a lot of you have probably used before. It's really easy. It's a browser interface, and it allows us to create databases, tables. We can insert records. So it's a nice break from the the shell and command lines and things like that. Alright, so we can go ahead and install this. Okay, really easy. Okay, so it's going to give us a warning about the Windows UAC. I'm just going to ignore that. I've never had any issues with it. Alright, so here we can select the different components that we want to install. I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to leave them all checked. I'm just going to leave the default. And a folder, we'll do C/XAMPP. And it's just going to open this Bitnami page. We can close that. Alright, so it's going to go ahead and install XAMPP. Some people say XAMPP, some people say XAMPP. Alright, so it's asking us if we want to start the control panel. We'll say finish. Alright, now basically you can control the different components from here. Apache, MySQL, FileZilla, and you have some email program. Basically what I want to do is let's start up Apache and MySQL. Allow access. Okay, so those should now be running. Now to get to phpMyAdmin, you can, I believe you can click this admin next to the MySQL, and that should bring you right to localhost/phpMyAdmin. Alright, of course you can just go there manually. Okay, now by default, we don't have a password on phpMyAdmin or MySQL. I mean, since that we're on a local machine, that's not the worst thing in the world, but if you want to add one, then you can go to, I think if we just go to localhost with no port, yeah, it'll take us to the XAMPP panel. And let's see, we want to go to security, and you want to click on this link right here, and then you can set a password here. Okay. Click this button, I think, or not. All right, now if we go back to PHPMyAdmin, I think there's actually a link here too. Yeah, right here. Now we need a password. Okay, so it's going to be root and then your password. All right, so from here you can click databases, and you can see that there's a couple sample databases. There's the system database, so we can just leave those intact. What we want to do is create a new database, and I'm just going to call it portfolio. All right, and then you can see we have it created over here. If we click on it, it's going to take us to our tables, and we don't have any. Obviously, we need to create one. All right, so we're pretty much going to have just one table. Okay, and we'll call it projects. And let's say, I don't know, 7 fields. All right, now we need to decide our fields. This isn't like MongoDB where it's schema-less and we can just kind of wing it. We have to establish our fields, our tables and fields. Okay, so we know we want to have an ID. All right, type, it's going to be an integer, which is obviously it's a number. The length, I guess we'll say 11 max. And then if we go over here, we want this to be the primary key, and we also want it to auto increment. All right, so what that means is if we enter a project and the ID is set to 1 automatically, when we go to add another project, that's going to be set to 2 automatically. All right, so it's going to increment automatically. All right, so we'll have a title, and that'll be a varchar, which is just basically text. Max length, we'll say 255. What else? We need a description. Okay, description, I'm going to give it a text field, which is basically just a long text field, as opposed to varchar, which is usually for shorter text. All right, we're going to have, what else are we going to have? Service. Same thing, varchar. Client. We're going to have an image. Okay, now the image is we're not gonna store the actual image in the database. That's not a good idea. You could, but it's not a good idea. What we're gonna do is just store the image name so that we can reference it in our HTML files, and we can point to it. All right, so this is gonna be varchar 255, and I think that's it. We just need the date. Okay, this will be the project date, and we're gonna select date, and that's. Yeah, so that looks good. Let's go ahead and save it. All right, so you can see we have our projects table. Click on it. We don't have any listings yet. We can actually do that from here as well. So if we click insert, we can go ahead and let's say project 1. And for a description, let me just get some sample text, dummy text, whatever you want to call it. Go up to here, I guess, copy. All right, service, we'll say web development. Client, let's just say client 1. And image for now, we'll just say, I don't know, we'll just say 1 JPEG. Date, okay, we get a little date picker here. I'm just gonna go back to, let's say January 14th. And then we can add another one here. So project 2. I'll just have the same description here. Service, web development, client, say client 2, image 2 JPEG, date, say February 18th. Alright, so now we can go down and click go. Yeah, right here, go. And that's going to go ahead and enter. You can see inserted row, 2 rows inserted. So now if we go to projects, you can see our fields here. Now if this was a production app, you would probably want to do some normalization. You'd probably want to have a clients table where you have all your client information, and then when you write your queries, you can use joins and you can bring the 2 tables together and do the whole relational database thing, which is quite different from what you do with NoSQL databases, which is denormalization. And there's a lot of duplicate content, but in turn it's much faster, much more scalable. So basically we have that done now. So let's go ahead and I guess we should create the app folder. So I'm going to go to my C drive, projects, and create a new folder called portfolio. Alright, and we can go ahead and git bash into that folder. And this is going to be an Express application, so we need to say Express, and that will generate, well, we don't need to do that, but that'll generate the core files for us. Alright, so now we have our Express structure here, but we need to edit the manifest, and we need to include quite a few modules for dependencies. So we're going to be using MySQL, so we can include that module, MySQL, and that's going to, we're just going to say the latest version of all these because I don't know the versions. Let's see, we're going to need, we're going to use messages, so we want our connect flash. As you can tell, as we go through these chapters, there's a few core modules that I pretty much always use for things like messages. Alright, so with that we need express messages. And we need express session. Singular. It's something that has got me quite a few times. Let's see, what else? We're going to upload an image, so we want Multer for file uploading. Oops. Let's see. We're going to have the date display, and we want to format that date, so we're going to use moment, which is a date formatter. And let's see, we want, is that it? I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. Alright, so let's save that and go back to git bash, and we're going to run npm install, and that will install all those modules for us. I'm sure you know that by now. Could take a minute. Alright, so those are now installed. So what we'll do now is go ahead and set up our app.js file. Whoa, let me close all these. Didn't know those were open. Okay, so obviously we need to include all these modules. Oh, actually there's one that we forgot, and that's Express Validator. So let's go and we'll just say npm install Express Validator, and I'm going to do double dash save because that'll add it to our manifest file. Alright, So let's go ahead and include some of these things. We'll say variable express validator, and that's going to be set to require validator. Alright, we'll do flash, and that's going to be connect flash. What else? Multer. And let's see, we want session. All right. And is that it? Yeah, I think that's it for now. Now we're going to need to set up the Multer middleware, which can take some configuration. I'm just going to paste it in. We only need one thing here, and that's just the destination folder. That's where the images are going to go. Okay, so it's going to go to public IMG portfolio. Let's see, what else do we want to do? We need to set up a session secret. So let me just paste that into. Okay, so it can be anything you want. If it's a production app, you probably want to change that. And let's see, we also need, let me just paste this middleware in. Okay, so we're going to set up the flash, connect flash, and then we're going to set a global variable here for moment. Alright, so we can access the moment function in the Jade templates, and we can format dates. And then here we're setting up the messages global variable. And actually we don't need this right here. I don't know why that's there. Alright. Okay, next thing I'm going to paste in is the express validator middleware, which is kind of long. Okay, just set up your error formatter. And that should be it. So let's save this. Let's try and run this. npm start. Okay, so it looks like we have an error. Can't find module session. Alright, this should be express session. You probably caught that. Okay, that looks good. Let's go ahead and try and run localhost 3000, and there we go. Alright, so our application is up and running. MySQL is installed. I would say the next thing we want to do is set up the front end. So in the next video, we'll go ahead and integrate that template that we downloaded into our application.